Caitlin Clark, she declined an invitation to participate in a special challenge during NBA All-Star Weekend next month. That's what Shams reported on Wednesday. Now, Clark's representatives, they expressed her desire to have her first three-point contest be at the WNBA All-Star in Indianapolis this summer. Shanae, I'm not mad at it. What do you make of this decision?
Look, I not only respect it, I absolutely wholeheartedly support.
Well, it's official, you guys. Caitlin Clark is not competing in the three-point contest at NBA All.
What occurs when the largest, a women's basketball star, declines to the NBA?
Caitlin Clark knows how to use the word that many people struggle all their lives being able to use. Some of us never get it till we're old and just don't care no more. The word, take a guess. Take a guess.
Disagreement, discussion, and, of course, indignation. Caitlin Clark, the spokesperson for the future of the WNBA, was been rejected by an request to participate in the NBA's All-Star three-point competition. The weekend.
Well, it has just been confirmed from Shams that Caitlin Clark will not be competing in the NBA three-point contest. Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark will not participate in the NBA All-Star Special three-point shootout in San Francisco and wants her first three-point contest to be at WNBA All-Star in Indianapolis this summer. Her representatives at Excel,
Rather than of applauding her choice, sports media went into a frenzy, which some claim she's avoiding competition while others dispute she's taking a risk to improve the WNBA. What is the actual cause of her rejection and the reasons ESPN is upset about? Keep an eye out because we're going to break it all down at the moment. Okay, let's get into this. Since Caitlin's entire the Clark crisis has been creating constantly changing headlines. If you haven't heard, Caitlin Clark is currently the absolute women's basketball superstars recently rejected a request to take part in this year's NBA three-point contest. Man, folks, and All-Star Weekend have many opinions on it, including ESPN, NBA fans, and WNBA supporters. Everyone has a viewpoint, and the argument is becoming heated.
the momentum that Caitlin Clark has this season, with her being close to being the face of basketball, both men's and women's this year. I just thought it was the perfect stage. And then obviously, you know, the possibility of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson teaming up once again back in Golden State and doing that home reunion thing, and then having Sabrina and Caitlin. To me, it just sounded like so much fun, and it would definitely bring a little spark to NBA All-Star that NBA All-Star unfortunately has
now. Caitlin Clark is, let's face it, the most well-known figure in women's basketball, correct? She is now more than just a player. She is a motion wherever she goes. She's selling out arenas, setting records, and attracting enormous TV viewership. Thus, when she chose not to participate in the NBA's offer wasn't just a little one. Disagreement in scheduling, it was a declaration, a message, and it seems to be one that numerous sports analysts and ESPN weren't prepared to listen, so she declined it because she's scared of is she making a mistake in the competition? Does she genuinely have the long term in mind? And using a move of power that people simply still don't comprehend.
Is another testament to where she is in the hierarchy of the sports food chain and, you know, the ladder of power and influence. Because Caitlin Clark is Steph Curry and LeBron James. Like, she's, you know, there's no difference. A great philosopher once said there's levels to this. She's on.
This is Caitlin Clark is someone she knows. She's not a player. She's just content to receive an invitation to a major gathering. She is aware that cameras follow her everywhere. Observe how the fans follow the money. And when she was presented with the chance, she didn't want to participate in an NBA event. Simply seized the opportunity like a novice. In an attempt to prove herself, she said, "Thank you, but I'll do my own terms for a three-point contest in my own league."
See Caitlin Clark using her power to benefit the WNBA, saying, Not that she'd never do anything with the NBA, but that she's not going to do it this time because the first time should be with the WNBA in front of the Fever fans.
Her choice is crucial, and she's establishing she is predicting the future by setting a precedent. You don't know the generations of female athletes. Must sign up for the Men's League 4. You may be the center of attention in the sport you play, and it's already. Just take a look at how many people are working.
Discussing a choice regarding
The three-point competition has become extensive discussion over the future of how much does women's basketball cost? Influence she possesses, therefore ESPN may be. The NBA could be disappointed. While some fans may not comprehend it, Caitlin Clark is fully aware of what she's doing, the long-term strategy she's constructing, a larger project than a single contest, and to be completely honest, I admire the heck. What do you people think about that, though? Was Caitlin right to do this? Should Clark have accepted the chance to participate in NBA competitions? Or was this the final maneuver of power for women's basketball? I'd like to know your remarks in the space provided, as this is one of those occasions that will be discussed for years to come and speculate. We haven't even finished breaking this. There's still a lot to discuss down there, such as the potential effects on her career, what this implies for the future of the WNBA, and the reasons why some believe she might. If you decide to change your mind, we'll go into Part 2 will cover all of it, so be sure to stay put because, believe me, the conversation is only beginning. So, now that we've parted ways, the choice of Caitlin Clark to forego the NBA's three-point contest and its significance had the sports world and ESPN buzzing. Let's take things a step farther because this isn't just about one event, it's about something much greater, the future of women's basketball, Clark's career, trajectory, and how the NBA might respond. Considering everything, let's begin with something that many individuals may not acknowledge, that Caitlin Clark recently modified the game. Actually consider it when you have did a WNBA player ever have the authority to refuse? To the NBA, when a female sportsperson never have the power to control her own terms at this level, the response nearly. In years, women's basketball has never been seeking legitimacy and battling for equal acknowledgement, and finding it difficult to establish its own position in the realm of sports. And now here, Caitlin Clark arrives, flipping the whole talking on its head. She's not. She's pleading for NBA attention, refusing it since she isn't searching for approval from the male league. She's demonstrating her lack of need for it, which is a seismic change in the discourse surrounding ESPN and women's sports are unknown to them. How ESPN has dealt with it for decades, considered women's basketball to be something to be a secondary product, discussed occasionally but never provided the whole spotlight, where they will showcase add some statistics from a couple WNBA moments when it's practical, but at the conclusion of the NBA is their main source of income these days. They are aware of the sources of the ratings, and the WNBA is never viewed by them as actual driver of ratings, although Caitlin Clark is altering that story. If you enjoy Clark's portrayal of people, observe how people pay attention when Clark speaks. When Clark does something like turn, people in the NBA discuss it, and ESPN is frantically trying to determine out what to do since, let's face it, they hoped that this NBA three-point shot would. The contest narrative would take a new turn. They hoped she would acknowledge that. They would have a moment of viral fame where they might play Caitlin's highlights indefinitely. The ratings of Clark versus NBA players, gold, but they're currently unable to agree on a considerably more significant problem that's forcing them to recognize the strength of the WNBA in a manner that has never been seen before. And let's take a moment to discuss that PO change. Second, as Caitlin Clark is more than just declaring for herself that she's establishing new guidelines for women's overall basketball. For the longest, WNBA players have been informed for a while that their one route to becoming well known is by supporting the NBA. They've been urged to take part in NBA events, should look for NBA analogies in order to determine how to blend in with the NBA's wider ecology. Yet, Clark simply said, "Thanks, I'll do it myself." And that makes everything different because future WNBA players are no longer required to feel as though they require NBA approval to be pertinent. They can take Clark's example, create their own brands, and insist on the WNBA is self-sufficient, rather than constantly taking a backseat role. Additionally, remember that Clark has the figures to support it from the previous season. The Clark's Indiana Fever Club was accountable for almost half of the entire broadcast value of the NBA is one. Consider that Team 1 player, the league's top-selling jerseys. TV demand for tickets is through the roof, smashing records in terms of ratings. She's a player in the NBA and industry. They are aware of it, which leads us to the following major query. How will the NBA answer all of this? Because they're witnessing things unfold by mistake. The NBA has a close relationship with ESPN, had a fascinating friendship all along. On the one hand, the WNBA has a interest in the league they offer, funding that they desire the WNBA to achieve success, at least in theory, however, they have never given their all to creating a truly equal product in the WNBA. They provide it at arm's length, enough publicity to keep it afloat, yet not enough to allow it to really blow up into the mainstream, and at this point, they're coming to understand that Clark doesn't. She doesn't require the NBA's help. She doesn't require their All-Star weekend. She doesn't have to compete in the three-point contest, appear in their show as a guest star. She's composing her own screenplay, which is a issue for the NBA as a result of Clark, and consequently, the WNBA can produce. Arenas are sold out due to high attendance and lead national discussions without the. When the NBA gets involved, what does that? Discuss the NBA's involvement in all of this. According to this, the WNBA is not required to be. It claims that the NBA is no longer its little sister. That basketball, baseball, for ladies can be, both for the NBA and its own powerhouse. They may not be prepared for that reality. Because, let's be honest, the NBA has depended on being the only performance in the area. In basketball, of course, they endorse the WNBA in principle, yet they've never considered it to be a serious rival for. They may now need to pay attention. They must begin considering what occurs if the WNBA keeps expanding at. What occurs if more stars are added at this pace, such as Clark appear and begin to pull. What happens when viewers turn away from the NBA? If the WNBA begins to insist on improved television, offers a larger percentage and greater pay of the basketball industry, the NBA has never been asked questions that response previously, and Caitlin Clark simply had them sit on the table. But let's return to ESPN for a moment, as the NBA is most likely a little uncomfortable with what this all indicates that ESPN is coping with long-term. The network's real-time fallout is centered on the NBA and their analysts. Their whole programming, the focus of basketball coverage is the NBA as the benchmark, but now they must take a seat and admit that the most significant basketball tale is occurring outside of the NBA's jurisdiction. Consequently, Stephen A. Smith's perspective on all of this was fascinating, since even if he supported Clark's choice, there was obvious dissatisfaction, not necessarily at Clark, but beneath it, but seeing the circumstance as it actually is. Since ESPN is accustomed to managing the basketball story, they choose what? They choose who gets the stories that are pushed. Focus, they choose who gets a superstar, and they're now recognizing that Clark is not following their guidelines.
She will not be utilized as a
marketing strategy for the NBA, that she's refusing to allow ESPN to control her career path. She will not play in the WNBA. Player who has the opportunity to play in the NBA. She will be Caitlin Clark, boys, and ESPN will simply have to do with it, but this is just the start. So if Clark is producing such, imagine what she's going to do when she moves now. To accomplish in the upcoming years, WNBA is only going to grow in size, likely to get more powerful, and the NBA, ESPN, and the whole sports industry must begin examining women's basketball in a manner that they have never prior. So yes, ESPN may be upset about the NBA may be uncomfortable, but Caitlin Clark, she's only beginning, so that this occasion is made so special by friends. Extremely crucial. So tell me do you guys believe Caitlin Clark will make is right moves the beginning of the WNBA's new age, and what think you? Believe that ESPN and the NBA will? Next, leave a comment with your opinions. Due to the fact that this discussion is far from above.